Hello guys, welcome to Ramta Solutions. Today we are looking at trigonometric graphs. To be precise, we're looking at the cosine graph. I will not repeat this information here, the information written in yellow, because this is what we covered in the sine graph. So the information I said about the sine graph is still applying on the cosine graph. Okay, it is still applying on the cosine graph. So what we are going to do, we are heading straight into examples because we have explained what these parameters mean in the sine graph. So again, that information is still the same when you get to cosine graphs. So without any waste of time, let's do this. So we're going to say, given f of x equals cos x and g of x equals cos into x plus 30 degrees. Okay, maybe let me write this. Determine the minimum value, maximum value, the range, and lastly the period, right? And the period. Number 2, draw the graphs. These are our questions. These are our questions for these graphs here, or these functions here. Okay, so without any waste of time, let's get into it. Number 1, we are given, let me use a different color. Number 1, we are given f of x equals cos x and g of x equals cos into x plus 30 degrees. Okay, so the minimum value here, as you know, when a is positive, the minimum is minus a plus q. A is positive 1, so this is minus 1. Q is 0, so our minimum is negative 1. Now for g of x, the minimum is still the same. A is positive, so it's minus a plus q, so it's still minus 1. The maximum value, because a is positive, it's a plus q. We said a was 1, q is 0, so this is positive 1. For this one here, the maximum is positive 1 plus q, which is 0. So our maximum is positive 1. The range, we say y is an element of minimum included, which is negative 1, to maximum included, which is positive 1. It is still the same on g of x. It is still the same on g of x. Right, it is still the same on g of x, minimum included and maximum included as well. Now, we should also look at the period. So we said period of cosine and sine rule is 360 degrees over b, right? It's 360 degrees over b. What is our b? Our b, which is the coefficient of the angle there, is 1, right? So our period is 360 degrees. So this means in the domain 0 to 360 degrees, we have one complete cycle. All right. Now the period for this one here, as you can see, b is still 1. So it is still 360 degrees divided by 1. The period is 360 degrees. This also means to in the domain 0 to 360 degrees, we have one complete wave. Let me restrict this. I want to say draw the graphs for x is an element of 0 degrees to 360 degrees. Okay, 0 degrees to 360 degrees. So this is what we know so far by looking at these functions. Okay, this is the information that was requested of us, so we got it. Now, without any waste of time, let's then head to number 2. Number 2, we are now drawing the graphs. Let's begin by looking for the graph f of x equals cos x. I will try x equals 0 degrees, 90 degrees, 180 degrees, and 270 degrees, and 360 degrees. To do this, in your calculator, you can go to the table form. You start at 0, you end at 360, your step, it's 90 degrees. Okay? So what you are getting that when x is 0 degrees, f of x is 1. When it's 90, it's 0, minus 1, 0, 1. All right? So this is your y. So these are the y values are corresponding to these x values. Now we can plot. Let me change the background. I want to put squares for time being so that I can be able to draw a neat one. Okay, so I can be able to draw a neat one. Yeah, okay, it's okay to have a red one. Yeah, I can do with it. Okay, and then okay, perfect. All right. So let's say this is 1, this is -1, and this is 0. This is 90 degrees, 180 degrees, 270 degrees, and 360 degrees. So these are the points. Okay. All right. Perfect. This is x, and this is y. So now we can plot this. When x is 0, y is 1. When x is 90, y is 0. When x is 180 degrees, y is -1. When x is 270, y is 0. When x is 360, y is 1. So this graph looks like this. Remember, this point shouldn't be flat. It should somehow be a bit concave down. Yeah, or it should be convex. Okay, it should be convex. So don't plot it like this. It should be maybe a bit extending. Okay, it should be a bit extending like this. So sort of a turning point. Okay, so this is your f of x. All right, this is your f of x. Now with your g of x, what it means is that everything is now moving to, remember, g of x was where is it? G of x was x plus 30 degrees. So this means the graph is shifting, p equals 30 degrees, meaning the graph is shifting to the right by 30 degrees. All right? The graph is shifting to the right by 30 degrees. So this means every point that you see here will be shifting to the right by 30 degrees. Okay. So when we draw this table, we will basically be saying, okay, begin with say 0, 60, 0, 60, blah, 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 blah. Get it, 0, 60, 120, blah, blah. It might not be that conducive, but a tip I can give you is that every point here is moved to the left by 30 degrees. Okay, so I will say, since this is okay, maybe let me try this. Consider cos 0 degrees. When x is 0, you have cos 30, right, which is negative 0.86, right, negative 0.86, right, negative 0.87. In fact, let's say it's somewhere here. Okay, when x is 60, you will be coming here at 0. When x is 120, you will be going to say negative whatever, negative what is this? You'll be going, okay, when x is, let me use these special angles that we see. This 90 will shift slightly to the right, or will shift to 30 degrees, rather will shift by 30 degrees, so it'll be at 60. This is 180, it'll shift by 30 degrees to the left, it'll be 150. Let's say 150 somewhere here. Okay, this point will shift 30 degrees to the left, so it is going to 240. Let's say it's somewhere here, I'm not sure. This one, it's at 360, it'll shift to the left by 30 degrees. Let's say it's somewhere here. Let's say it's somewhere here, right? Let's say it's somewhere here. Now, what we need to know as well is this. When x is 90, so in other words, when x is 90, you basically are saying g of 90 degrees equals cos 90 degrees plus 30, which is cos 120 degrees. Your calculator will return, I think it'll return negative 0.87. Let me confirm. Cos 120, it'll return, cos 120, it's returning half. Oh yes, cos 120, it's returning negative half. So I don't know where 120 is, it's returning half, but I don't necessarily need it. I don't necessarily need that point, but if you like, you can put it. So with me, I'm going to say I can join these points because everything has shifted 30 degrees to the right. But do not forget, our domain was saying x is an element of 0 degrees to 360. So I need this point here. Okay, I need this point here, meaning I need g of 360, right? I need g of 360, which is 360 degrees plus 30. So check that on your calculator, which is 390, right? Which is 390. It's positive 0.87. So it is corresponding to this one here. Here is it. Now I can sketch this and say, okay, you are like this. Okay, and this is my g of x. So this is g of x, while the red is f of x. So as you can see, we're basically saying the difference between these guys here is 30 degrees. This means g of x has shifted 30 degrees to the right. Okay, it is easy to use this one because they have the same amplitude, they have the same minimum and maximum values. However, every point is shifting 30 degrees to the left. Remember, when p is positive, they are shifting 30 degrees to the left. Okay, all right. Now we're going to try examples where we are not really sketching, but we are stating the kind of shift that might happen, and maybe even the minimum and maximum. Okay, so let's try. Or let me remove this. Let me remove the white background. I mean the block background. Okay, so it's clearer now. Right. Now let's try now more examples. Now, for this section, we're going to say state the shift and state the shift, the min, max, period, and range for the following. I'm going to write them individually. So number one, let's look at f of x equals 2 cos 3x, 2 cos 3x minus 1. For this one, as you can see, a equals 2, b equals 3, q equals -1. So obviously p equals 0. Alright? Perfect. So what does it mean? This means amplitude is 2. Right? Amplitude is 2, first thing first. And period is 360 degrees. Right? 360 degrees divided by b, which is 360 degrees divided by 3, which is 120. So we get the first complete cycle at 120 degrees from 0 to 120. Right? It also means when we scale this, we are going to scale this in, better to scale it in 30s than scaling it in 90s. Right? But that's not what the question is asking us. So the minimum, you remember minimum was when a is positive, minimum is a minus a plus q, which is -2 minus 1. So our minimum value is -3. Okay, it's -3. So basically, when you are looking for the minimum, without even looking at this value, you can say if this value was hidden, minimum would be -2, maximum would be 2. But because q is -1, you move the minimum 1 unit down. So it will be -3. Okay. The maximum, without even looking at this value, or if this value was not present, you will say the maximum is 2. But because it's moving 1 unit down, maximum will be 1. But let's see. We said when a is positive, maximum is a plus q. So this is 2 minus 1. Our maximum is 1. Right? We are also looking for the range. Okay, let me just put the range here. Range, we will say y is an element of, including minimum, 2, maximum included as well. So it's -3 to 1. That is your range. Okay. This is your range, and this is how you find this. Perfect. Number 2, f of x equals negative sine. Let me use negative sine x minus 45 degrees plus 1. Okay, so let's begin by finding the amplitude. So the amplitude is an absolute value, of a. So it meaning you do not really consider the sine. However, before I continue, what I see here, a equals 1, b equals 1, p equals -45 degrees, q equals 1. So a is basically the amplitude. So, or rather, amplitude is basically the absolute value of a. A here is -1. I don't know what I did here. A here is -1. Right, a is -1. Right, a is -1. So when I say absolute number, I mean ignore the sign. This means amplitude is 1. Now, what is the minimum value? The minimum, when A is negative, we say it is A plus Q, which is minus 1 plus 1. This is 0. Right? Perfect. Maximum, when A is maximum, when A is negative, it will be negative A plus Q. Negative into negative 1 plus 1. What is this? This is 2. Now, this graph has shifted, or shifts 1 unit up, right? Shifts 1 unit up, right? It shifts 1 unit up and 45 degrees to the right. Okay? 45 degrees to the right. We said when P is negative, it shifts to the right. So it shifts 45 degrees to the right. Now, the range, before I forget, the range, we say Y is an element of minimum. What is minimum? 0. 0 included. And what is maximum? Maximum is 2 included. Right? What is the period? What is the period? It is 360 degrees over B, which is 360 degrees over 1. So our period is 360 degrees. So in the domain 0 degrees to 360 degrees, we only get one complete cycle. Okay? We only get one complete cycle. All right. Perfect. Now, number 3, if we are given f of x equals sine x, sine x, let's now say g of x, g of 3x plus 2, g of x equals, let's say this, g of x equals f of x plus, f of 2x, yes, f of 2x plus 3. What does it mean? This means we are saying where there's f of x, or where there's x on f of x, we put 2x. This means we are saying sine 2x plus 3, right? Now, what is happening here? As you can see, A here is 1, B is 2, as you can see, Q is 3, meaning it shifts up. Okay, now let's talk about the shift. This shifts 3 units up, right? This shift 3 units up. So, perfect. Now, let's talk about the minimum. The minimum, according to what I see here, when A is 1, minimum is basically minus 1, maximum is 1. So when it's minus 1 and moving it 3 units up, it'll be 2. But let's confirm. When A is positive, so we say minimum is minus A plus Q, which is minus 1 plus 3. So minimum is 2. The maximum, normally when amplitude is 1, maximum would be 1. But because you are moving it 3 units up, it will be 4. But let's confirm. The maximum is, when A is positive, it's A plus Q. So it's 1 plus 3. This is 4. Therefore, the range is, the range Y is an element of minimum, which is 2 included, of course, and maximum 4 included, of course. Right? What else did I say I need? Oh, sorry, we're still continuing. So, then the period. What is it? Period is 360 degrees over B, which is 360 degrees over 2. this is 180 degrees, meaning you have your first full wave at 180 degrees, and at 360 degrees, you will have had two full cycles, not full waves, sorry, two full cycles at 360 degrees. Okay, so this is it, guys. This is all that you need for your trig graphs. Okay, this is all you need for your trig graphs. Perfect. Bye-bye.